This is Luciana Paulise, and now we're going to review the Module 6 Human Resources Essentials, and specifically we're going to talk about contracts and agreements, some with employees and some with customers. So what are the main agreements that you may have? An agreement or a contract is agreed with two or more parties to do something for the other. So there are different types of agreements that you may have. Some examples are the non-disclosure agreements, the non-competing agreement, privacy policies, photo video releases, and cancellation policies. So let's talk about each of them in detail. A company may have a policy regarding confidentiality concerning customers or clients or proprietary information owned by the company. Medical organizations, law firms, and banks are most likely to require signed confidentiality agreements with the employees or with the contractors so that they don't share their information that they have with the clients with other people. Today, sharing this information is very expensive, but also people are more and more careful. They don't want to be contacted by anyone that they don't approve. So that's why non-disclosure agreements are important. This is not only for contacts or for information about the client, but also about information or intellectual property from the company, such as maybe a book or maybe something that was developed, a new product. So all this information needs to be kept safe. You can make your employees or your contractors sign a non-disclosure agreement. These are examples that you can use. I recommend you that you check them with your own lawyer or attorney because the content may change or may vary depending on the type of contract or the type of product that you sell. Another very important agreement is the photo video release. Sometimes we want to take pictures of our employees or of our customers in the company, and we need to be really careful. We need to ask the employees or the customers if they agree to get or to be in those pictures. So we can make them sign this photo or video release, and they just have to include their name, their last name, their signature, and say if they agree to share videos, recording, or photos. In contract law, a non-competing clause or non-competing agreement is a clause under which one party, usually an employee, agrees not to enter into or start a similar profession or trade in competition against another party, which is usually the agreement. The employer and the employee may agree on the inclusion of a non-competition clause in the employment contract or a separate non-disclosure agreement, as we discussed before. In the event that the employment contract has been terminated or has expired during the agreed non-competition period, the employer shall pay compensation to the employee on a monthly basis. If the employee breaches the non-competition agreement, he or she shall pay the damages to the employer as agreed. The personnel subject to non-competition agreement usually is limited to the employer's senior management, senior technicians, and other personnel with a confidentiality obligation. The scope, area, and term of the non-competition agreement shall be agreed both with the employer and the employee, and such agreement must not violate the laws and regulations. So again, this is a very good example that you can use, but it's good that you share with your lawyer and see if it's the right one for you. Then I'd like to share with you some other contracts that you can have on your website or with your customers to share information. What happens is that when you have a website and people get into the website and maybe you enroll them in your newsletter or you ask them for credit card information for buying a product, you are getting their personal information. So you may need some protection so that you don't get sued by your customers. So one of the things that you can have, which is very simple, is an appointment or cancellation policy agreement. This is in case you do appointments online. What happens if it is canceled? What happens if you cancel it, or what happens if they cancel it? You can define here, this is an example of that you care about your clients. So in this case, you can cancel an appointment the day prior to the scheduled appointment. But if no notification is given, the fee for the missed appointment is non-refundable. So this is just an example, but you can define that you may ask them for a fee even if they don't show up, or that they have to reschedule it if they don't want to lose the money. Whatever you decide, you just have to include everything in this appointment cancellation policy so that the customers already know from the very beginning what they can expect. This may sound strange, but if you're a consultant or a coach or an accountant and you schedule some time with a client, if they cancel right 1 hour before the scheduled appointment, you are missing money because no one is taking that hour. You don't have time to get a new client. So that's why it's very important that you set this up from the very beginning. And the other policy that I wanted to share with you is the privacy policy. Many companies require the privacy policy from your website. An example of this is the BBB, the Better Business Bureau. They always require that your website should include a privacy policy that you can share with your customers. What is a privacy policy? It's simply a statement or a legal document that discloses some or all the ways a party gathers, uses, discloses, and manages a customer or client's data. Personal information can be anything that can be used to identify an individual, not limited to the person's name, address, date of birth, marital status, contact information, ID, financial records, credit information, medical history, anything. In the case of a business, it is often a statement that declares a party's policy on how it collects, store, and release this personal information that is being collected. Again, let's say you want to subscribe people into a newsletter. You might want to tell them what are you going to do with this information and how you're going to keep it. And it's important to say this in your website. Many websites, if you start looking from now on, you will see the privacy policy at the bottom of the website. So make sure that you include yours. This is an example that you can use. Make sure you get it reviewed with your attorney. This is the exact content of a certain privacy policy that you can use, but it will depend on the applicable laws, where you live, where your company is established, and the legal jurisdictions. Most countries have their own legislation and guidelines of how it's covered, what information can be collected, and what can be used for. In general, data protection laws in Europe cover the private sector as well as the public sector. In America could be different, so you need to define which is the most convenient for you. And the last thing that is important for you to consider is the employee handbooks. Handbooks are compiled to keep employees informed of what needs to be done and how. It is a way of ensuring best practices to build the product or provide a service that the employees are building. However, employees can take them as a contract or warranty of employment. So a recommendation is to include a disclaimer indicating that the handbook or policy is not to be considered as a contract of employment. You should have a separate contract of employment. You should consider using a professional coach to develop policies, or you can make your employees directly develop the policies while your consultant reviews them. There are also some off-shelf personal policy manuals that you can use or you can buy online, but you will have to adapt them to your specific company, your specific products. But at least they have been reviewed by an attorney, and you can use them as examples. So this varies a lot. This is a procedure or operating standard policies that a company has, and this is another one for the company's apples. You know, they are truly different. They look different, but the content may be as important. So it depends how you want to develop. It can be nice or it can be useful and located at the place where the employees need it. What is important is that the employees can read it because it's a guidance on how to perform their work. So it's very important that they have it handy. These are some examples of how you can have the manuals. It doesn't have to be a book. It can be something that you can show on whiteboards. It can be visual management tools. It can be operating procedures like the one on the right, where you define when you have to do the job, what is the procedure, who should do it, when, and you can provide as many details as you want. You can include pictures, you can include diagrams, whatever the employee may need to know exactly how to perform work. So what is the minimum content? Well, you can have many things in your employee books. What is recommended is that you can have a welcome statement from the owner of the company. You can show the company objectives, the mission and the rules, the attendance policy and hours of work, the code of ethics, how information is communicated, the confidentiality policy or all the non-disclosure agreements that we talked about, personal conduct, including use of alcohol and drugs or smoking areas, dress code. You can also include the overtime policy, equal opportunity statement, sexual harassment policies, security and safety policies, also policies regarding time off and holidays. Some companies are very specific on 2 weeks of holidays per year. Some are more flexible, allowing the employee to take as many days of holidays they want as long as they meet the objectives. Whatever is your um, information or whatever it is that you want to share with the employees, it's good that you have them somewhere that you can prove that it's there available for them and they cannot say that they didn't know it. Other things that are important that you can communicate are the way to resolve problems, what happened when they have a conflict, how they can solve it, and also about performance appraisals. What is the frequency? Some companies have an annual performance appraisal, some are more informal, and employees can ask for feedback anytime. So whatever is the method in your company, it's great that you can share it with your employees. There are various laws relating to the employee and employment of personnel. So what I would recommend is that you go to Texas Gov to listen or to read more about these different policies and define what is the best course of action for your employees. Next class, we're going to talk about the business plan. So be ready because it will be the last part of this course. If you want more information, you can reference to the Human Resources for the Small Business Owner book, or you can go to Delivering Happiness, which is also a book that will talk about how to keep your employees engaged. If you have any questions, you can contact me at luciana@bistroming.com, or you can send me an Instagram or go to my website. Hope you enjoy and see you in the next video.